When Russia first deployed Shahed drones, critics scoffed. Flying lawnmowers, they said. Slow, noisy, primitive. Ukraine's mobile gun teams knocked them out with ease. But that was 2022. This is 2025. And now, those same drones no longer crawl, they hunt. In today's battlefield, Russia's Shahed and Lancet UAVs have undergone a metamorphosis from expendable tools to strategic predators. They're faster, fly higher, strike harder, and, perhaps most dangerously, they think smarter. Ukraine's air defense crews aren't just overwhelmed. They're outmaneuvered, outnumbered, and outgunned. Meanwhile, Western analysts write headlines about stalemates and resistance. But on the ground, something else is happening. A cold, methodical evolution of warfare led not by jets or tanks, but by silent machines in the sky. As Morgan Freeman, have said, in war, it's not the loudest voice that prevails, but the one that adapts in silence. And Russia seems to be writing the manual in real time. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you view this war and the future of every war after it. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. In the earliest months of the conflict, the Shahed drone was seen as a crude instrument of war, slow, noisy, and easy to shoot down. Ukrainian troops nicknamed them flying mopeds, and their propeller buzz was often the only warning before impact. But today's battlefield tells a very different story. Russia has quietly, methodically transformed the Shahed into something altogether more formidable. The newest models now cruise at altitudes between 2,500 to 2,800 meters, placing them far beyond the reach of most machine guns and even many shoulder-launched missiles. That's more than double the height of older variants. Their cruising speed has also surged, with standard models reaching between 200 to 210 kilometers per hour. And in elite jet-powered variants, that number jumps to an astonishing 550 to 600 kilometers per hour, fast enough to outrun Ukrainian helicopters, which rarely exceed 250 kilometers per hour, even at full throttle. But Russia didn't stop at altitude and speed. In one of the most consequential upgrades, Shaheds now incorporate 12-channel Comet-S navigation systems. This renders most traditional Ukrainian electronic jamming almost entirely ineffective. According to current Ukrainian defense assessments, it would take 12 separate jamming systems, operating simultaneously and in unison, just to disable a single drone. In practical terms, that is impossible to maintain on a wide front, particularly under pressure. This change has flipped the electronic warfare game. Where once Ukrainian forces relied on disrupting GPS and forcing drones off course, they now face a new breed of drone that can chart its path, adjust midair, and resist most signal interference. In terms of durability, the upgrades are equally dramatic. Russian engineers have moved the fuel tanks from the Shahed's wings into its main fuselage, meaning the drone can absorb hits to its outer shell and keep flying. The engine compartment has been reinforced, giving it better survivability against flak or shrapnel. Perhaps most alarming of all, new models of Shahed now possess the ability to deploy submunitions during flight. These small payloads, released mid-air, allow the drone to strike broad target zones without needing to directly impact them. It's a devastating tool, especially when used against infantry units, fortified positions, or lightly armored vehicles. Ukrainian troops in both Sumy and Kharkov have reported harrowing experiences, unexplained detonations over wide areas, sudden cascading blasts, and shrapnel raining down unpredictably. Russia has effectively turned a disposable kamikaze weapon into a long-range, high-speed, semi-autonomous strike platform. And it did so under the radar, while the West remained fixated on tanks and artillery statistics. The modern Shahed is no longer a nuisance. It is a high-endurance, high-speed, high-survivability threat. Its evolution embodies Russia's broader military strategy, iterative improvement, battlefield adaptation, and saturation by scale. But speed and survivability are only part of the equation. What happens when the drones stop reacting and start planning? On the 2nd of July, Ukrainian military analysts disclosed a breakthrough and a concern. According to Ukrainian radio-technical warfare expert Serhiy Bezkresnov, Russian forces have begun deploying FPV suicide drones outfitted with foldable solar panels. At first glance, it might seem like a minor tweak, but in practical terms, it signals a leap in strategic thinking. These drones aren't just attack vehicles anymore, they're autonomous ambush predators. Deployed near the front, they remain motionless, silent, invisible. The solar panels don't power them in flight. They charge them while stationary, allowing the drones to enter and maintain standby mode for extended periods. Days, weeks, even a month if needed. During this period, their onboard cameras and communication modules remain active, drawing minimal power while watching over the battlefield. These drones become invisible hunters, waiting patiently for Ukrainian troops or convoys to enter their engagement zone. The moment a target appears, the drone activates instantly. No manual startup, no delay, no exposure. It strikes with full battery, full speed, and full lethality. In military terms, this is known as persistent overwatch on a tactical level, and it's a game changer. Bezkresnov shared photos of one such drone captured at the front line. The solar panels were compact, dual folding, and clearly designed for field use. He emphasized that this wasn't the first instance multiple sightings had occurred. What this suggests is that Russia may be implementing a whole new mode of UAV deployment, ambush mode, loitering munitions. These aren't just fielded at random. They're strategically placed to deny terrain, wear down patrols, and make Ukrainian soldiers paranoid. Every mound, every bush, every quiet trench could now be home to a silent killer. Moreover, this isn't a standalone experiment. Russia already developed the Joker, a drone that can enter a sleep mode for up to 30 days without losing charge. It is not a coincidence. This is the doctrinal next step. And what makes these drones even more dangerous is their near total silence in standby mode. Traditional FPV drones emit radio signals which can be detected, but sleeping drones do not. They remain functionally invisible until activation. And as Ukrainian experts now warn, this might only be the beginning. As Russia moves toward greater autonomy, drones could soon be granted more decision-making authority via artificial intelligence. That means faster reaction times, better target prioritization, and reduced dependency on signal relay. The implications are massive. Low cost, self-recharging, long-duration weapons, with no need for babysitting, just waiting to strike. But as Ukraine scrambles to detect silent stalkers, Russia is already preparing the next phase, one that overwhelms not just sensors, but the very logic of defense. Precision is no longer the point. Russia is no longer trying to hit one tank or one radar. It's overwhelming the entire system. Ukrainian air defenses, no matter how sophisticated, are still finite. Each battery has limits. For example, a typical Ukrainian radar-guided system can simultaneously track no more than 20 incoming targets. But Russian drone tactics aren't built around that number. They're built to exceed it massively. In recent months, Russia has begun launching synchronized waves of Shahed drones. Dozens, even hundreds at a time. It's not about stealth. It's about flooding the radar, saturating the response, and exhausting the defenders. When 200 drones fly toward a zone and Ukraine can only intercept 20 of them at once, the math speaks for itself. What makes this strategy so lethal is the sequencing. The first wave includes decoys, cheaply made, easily produced mock-ups designed to mimic Shahed profiles. They fly the same routes, emit similar signatures, and behave in a way that tricks radar operators. Ukraine is forced to respond. They launch expensive interceptors. They alert ground crews. They expose air defense units. And then, when the smoke clears, the real threat arrives. Actual Shaheds and Lancet drones follow the decoys, slipping through overwhelmed detection arcs. These aren't just blind explosives. The Lancets loiter, search for exposed Ukrainian radar vehicles or missile platforms, and destroy them. According to the Comeback Alive Foundation, a Ukrainian military support group, over 30 Russian drone decoys were destroyed within just 3 months. On the surface, that might sound like a success. But the damage wasn't caused by what Ukraine hit. It was caused by what got through while they were distracted. Every missile wasted on a dummy leaves a real drone untouched. Every radar ping chasing a ghost delays reaction to a real threat. This is the logic behind Russia's saturation strategy. Force the defender to fight shadows, then strike with substance. Even more troubling is Russia's timing. Analysts have observed that Russian drone waves often coincide with Ukrainian reloading cycles. That means when missile batteries are paused, reloading after an initial volley, another wave hits. It's a brutal exploitation of rearming windows. The defenders are caught mid-cycle with no fresh missiles, no immediate response. It's here where Lancets have destroyed multiple Ukrainian radar sites and Shaheds have slipped through to attack command posts or logistics hubs. And the pattern keeps repeating. This isn't brute force. It's coordinated, layered, and mathematically precise. As I, Morgan Freeman, have said, in war, timing is the silent killer. Strike when the enemy reloads, and you've already won. This isn't hyperbole. It's the reality playing out daily on Ukraine's front lines. And it highlights a bitter truth. No matter how advanced a system is, it fails when it's overwhelmed by quantity and timing. And while Ukraine scrambles for every missile, Russia leans into scale, speed, and surprise, with AI waiting just behind the curtain. This war is no longer being fought only by men with binoculars and buttons. Increasingly, it's fought by lines of code, machine learning algorithms, and pattern recognition software. Russia is pivoting from operator-driven drones to autonomous strike platforms. This is not science fiction. It's unfolding right now. Ukrainian and Western analysts are observing Russian FPV drones that operate with minimal human input. They can identify targets using onboard cameras and execute missions without real-time guidance. That means shorter delays, fewer vulnerabilities, and far greater lethality on the battlefield. The logic is simple. Remove the weakest link, the delay in human decision-making. By embedding artificial intelligence directly into the drone's control system, Russia is accelerating response times and reducing signal exposure. There's no need to maintain continuous radio contact, which not only saves bandwidth, but also renders most signal jamming tactics ineffective. Drones no longer need to ask what to do. They analyze, adapt, and act. Take the case of recent FPV drone attacks in Donetsk. These drones were seen adjusting their flight path mid-air, avoiding terrain, responding to vehicle movement, even changing approach angles to strike from the least protected side. Military analysts say this is the effect of neural algorithms trained on thousands of engagement scenarios. Once confined to reconnaissance, drones are now performing target prioritization, evasive maneuvering, and even post-strike data transmission entirely on their own. What's being built here is not just a smarter drone, It's a battlefield network. UAVs perform reconnaissance, relay findings to loitering drones like the Lancet, which then confirm, track, and strike, all with minimal or no human intervention. The battlefield becomes a web of flying sensors and shooters. It's a living grid of machine-to-machine interaction. The human role, ironically, is shrinking not because of incompetence, but because machines are simply faster, more precise, and tireless. And Russia isn't doing this randomly. It's based on doctrine, a strategic shift in warfare philosophy. As I, Morgan Freeman, have observed, the future of war belongs to those who master the unseen, the unnoticed, the automatic. Russia's autonomous drone development isn't about sci-fi spectacle. It's about removing the friction. Human error, delay, fatigue, second-guessing. And as each wave becomes more independent, the battlefield grows less forgiving for defenders still operating in manual mode. Ukraine, on the other hand, is still largely reactive. Its drone operations require close coordination, strong signals, and exposed operators. But Russia's swarm model, powered by AI, changes the equation entirely. The attack doesn't pause if the operator loses signal. The drone doesn't hesitate if the target moves. And the network doesn't collapse if a unit fails. It adapts. This is warfare redefined, not by generals, but by software. And while Ukraine tries to fight yesterday's war with Western slogans, Russia writes tomorrow's playbook in binary. What happened on the 2nd of July was not a fluke. It was a demonstration. On that single day, Russian forces carried out over 1,200 drone sorties, 50 airstrikes, and more than 4,000 artillery strikes. These are not symbolic attacks. They are sustained pressure tactics designed to break defenses, drain morale, and destroy infrastructure. This is not war for the camera, it's war by erosion. Ukrainian forces, from Kupiansk in the northeast to Dnipro in the central corridor, reported constant engagements, often unable to respond in time. Ammunition stocks are running low. Command relays are delayed. And worse, soldiers on the ground face near constant drone harassment without clear patterns or safe zones. Even analysts aligned with the Kyiv government have begun admitting the reality. One such figure, military analyst Petrenko, publicly stated, "Russia is dismantling the front methodically. This is not a blitzkrieg. It's industrial attrition, a war of volume, timing, and calculated overload." While media in the West continues to describe the front as stagnant, the actual battlefield tells a very different story, one of slow, methodical collapse under the weight of relentless systems warfare. Behind the lines, the cracks are even more visible. Ukrainian air defense logistics are deteriorating rapidly. Many platforms now operate in manual mode, with severely depleted stockpiles of interceptors. Several brigades report having to choose which sector to defend because they simply do not have enough missiles to cover all vectors. The Russians know this. Their drone swarm strategy is built around it, by overwhelming radar with more targets than can be tracked, and by timing waves to coincide with Ukrainian reload cycles. Russian forces ensure that a portion of every drone wave gets through. And the damage is not just physical, it's psychological. Ukrainian units now report near constant overhead threats, leading to fatigue, hesitation, and a paralyzing sense of exposure. Soldiers have described feeling hunted by machines that do not sleep, do not hesitate, and do not miss. There is no moment of quiet, no relief from buzzing engines or sudden explosions. This psychological warfare is part of the design. Exhaust the defender's will before exhausting their weapons. All of this reflects a simple but brutal shift in the nature of the conflict. Russia isn't winning because of some miracle weapon. It's winning because of consistency, adaptability, and pressure. Its UAV program, combining saturation tactics with evolving AI and electronic warfare resilience, has reshaped the frontline dynamic. And in my words, Morgan Freeman, wars are not won by dreams or banners, but by those who endure, adapt, and outlast. This isn't a war of ideals. It's a war of endurance. And right now, Russia holds the momentum, the systems, and the skies. So where does this leave Ukraine and the West narrative? In the shadow of drones scrambling for a doctrine that no longer fits. The sky over Ukraine no longer belongs to jets nor to dogfights. It belongs to drones that wait, swarm, and adapt. Machines designed not just to fly, but to outlast, to learn, and to kill efficiently. The Shahed drone is no longer a laughingstock. It is a symbol of military transformation, and its evolution, from noisy low flyer to AI-guided war machine, marks a deeper shift in how war is fought and won. Russia has not simply adapted to modern warfare. It has outgrown the assumptions of its adversaries. Where NATO emphasizes precision and doctrine, Moscow has leaned into production, scale, and strategic timing. From solar-powered ambush drones that can lie in wait for weeks, to swarms that flood air defenses, to neural networks that guide Lancet strikes in near real time, this is a doctrine not built in think tanks, but forged in battlefield necessity. And as I, Morgan Freeman, have said, underestimate a tool, and it becomes the hand that reshapes your world. The reshaping is already underway. Ukraine and its Western backers are scrambling for responses, but responses based on outdated paradigms will fall short. What Russia has proven, quietly, methodically, is that whoever owns the airspace owns the outcome. And in this war, the drone owns the air. So now, the question shifts. Has the West already lost the drone war? Or is this merely the opening act of something even more profound? A change not just in technology, but in global military balance. The future doesn't shout. It buzzes. It circles overhead. It chooses when to strike. And it doesn't need a pilot. Let us know what you think in the comments. Because while analysts debate, the battlefield has already moved on.